The Amazonian pledge their loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who fought along we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians on Ground Zero in Europe. Good afternoon, Ambazonians in the United States. Good morning in Asia. And good day wherever else you find yourself. I'm your humble servant, Dr. Julius Nyi, the Vice President of the Ambazonian Governing Council. I wish to send 21 gun salute to our brave men and women resisting Cameroon's occupation in Ambazonia. I wish to send special salutations to all our well-wishers, supporters of the AGOVC ADF family, supporters of the Project Ambazonia, and those who sacrifice their lives day in, day out to make sure that we are free. For Cameroon, I once more send you the defiant note of our civilian population, of our fighting forces, of our dedicated patriots manning the post, that if you thought you could defeat us in 2 weeks, if you thought we were 2 cubes of sugar, we have shown you over the last 8 years in this final phase of our quest for freedom, who truly owns the land. We have shown you in your last propaganda in Ambazonia by organizing a fake 20th May, who owns the land. I wish to thank our people for massively boycotting the colonial 20th May celebrations. I wish to thank our people for always heeding to the call to resist Cameroon's occupation, to intensify the resistance. If there is anyone out there who doubted the resolve of our people to be free, 20th May was your answer. If there is anyone out there who doubted whether the Ambazonian Governing Council or the ADF will prevail, our posture on the ground, our diplomacy, our community mobilization, our legal battle against Cameroon is your answer. We have not only prevailed, we have put Cameroon on the back foot. Biya, the Octagorian leader of Cameroon, declared war on Ambazonia 8 years ago. And down the line, they lost the war in the first 8 months of battle. They have not only lost the war in Ambazonia, Cameroon is continuously losing territory in its own country, in the north, in the east. It's also losing social cohesion political stability in all its 8 provinces. That is a direct consequence of declaring war on Ambazonia. Remember, Honorable Weber told you guys that the so-called Ambazonian crisis will bring down Cameroon. But you didn't listen. The consequences are dire. Cameroon is in total collapse. The cracks that were hidden within the CPDM circle have become full-fledged and they are now visible out there. Things are falling apart. The political class cannot more agree. But one thing is for sure. They are eliminating all Ambazonians, especially in the military and their political circles, who have helped them to no avail to crush the Ambazonian dream. They will eliminate you all. We have a word for you. Decamp. Not only those in its political class, but those in its war machine. Decamp. Ambazonia is your only safety. Cameroon looks at you as dogs, as they said. They look at you as houseboys and housegirls. Cameroon, unable to win the war in Ambazonia and losing territory, losing social cohesion, losing political cohesion, have resorted to propaganda in order to solve its own problems, but also solve the problems in Ambazonia. Cameroon, you cannot gain peace or stability through propaganda. You cannot gain peace, stability, or resolve the Ambazonian crisis using normalization. You have normalized things for the past 6 years and running, and you should be wise enough. You have used reconstruction. For example, you are reconstructing the Kumba field. The reconstruction of roads and infrastructure are not in alignment with what you destroyed. For Cameroon, BIA and the United Nations Agency for Development, can you point to us one of the more than 2,000 villages that were burnt by Cameroon that you have reconstructed? Can you point to us one of the hundreds of schools that were burnt by Cameroon that have been reconstructed? The reconstruction program is a farce. It's a propaganda tool in order to portray a sense of peace and stability. We Ambazonians have long passed the point of no return. We will not and will have never been part of Cameroon. We are gone for good. I know the political class, through different machinations, are keeping the war going because they are scared of negotiations. I know the likes of head boy John Gute were in Boya recently, and they concocted a plan to continuously push the propaganda issue of normalization. I know the instructions that were passed on to their military, and we've taken appropriate measures to safeguard our population, our fighting forces, and every person living in Ambazonia, whether indigenous or autochtone. As such, we call on our chiefs who have been paraded by Dion Gute and colonial governors as their tools of normalization because they were unable to galvanize the population to march on 20th May. I call on all the chiefs to put on your thinking cap. I call on all the chiefs and stooges and so-called political elites to read the writing on the wall. The end of Cameroon in Amazonia has already begun. It takes time to uproot a 64-year-old colonial system within our territory, but we have reduced their governance into Amoka governance. We have reduced their economic exploitation into expenses by increasing the cost on occupation. Cameroon doesn't want to accept defeat. Cameroon doesn't want to negotiate. Yet, Cameroon thinks by behaving like Gobus or Chemical Ali of Iraq, they can use propaganda to win. Propaganda ain't taking you anywhere. The problems for Cameroon are increasing, both economic, social, political, infrastructural. Cameroon is unable to reconstruct its own country, but able to reconstruct Amazonia. What a laughable idea. Cameroon's elites and citizens in the north are calling for total separation and a change of the ruling tribalistic elite. Cameroon is splitting into different factions, different localities, different ethnic groups because of the tribal politics and development, which went nowhere but pursued by Biya and his acolytes. We call on all Amazonians, we call on all well-wishers to stay the course. Victory is near. I can assure you that our posture internationally, our posture within Africa has taken on a new nuance, and we have more partners. We have more diplomats heading our way. As we speak, on a weekly basis, diplomats from the US, from the EU, from the AU, they fly to Norway to talk to your leader, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba. Unable to find any indictment for the last 8 months, Norway has come to the realization that it made the biggest mistake in its history of promoting human rights by arresting Dr. Cho. And they are now looking for ways to save face. They are now looking for ways to save Cameroon. No country, no regime, no person can save Cameroon from its demise in Amazonia. The only credible way to save Cameroon is to force them on the negotiation table, because they have lost the war. They don't really want genuine negotiations. They concoct different frameworks in order to undercut the Amazonian people and the international community. But I think the Amazonian people, if for 64 years Cameroon has been unable to exterminate you, they cannot use fake negotiations or undercover agents in order to derail your quest for freedom. Your leader, Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, has extended his warm salutations, but a call for you people to be defiant. For him, for the Ambazonian Governing Council, for the Ambazonian Defense Forces and sister forces, we have nothing to compromise. The only compromise we have is full, total independence. And independence means independence. We have nothing to offer. We only have our dignity and our land. Cameroon has robbed us of schools, has robbed us of an educational system worthy of the 21st century, has robbed us economic opportunities, have dismantled all the institutions and the economic potentials that were put in place before 1961. And as such, we are pursuing our right to live in the land of our birth. We are pursuing our right to determine our own political, economic, social, financial, and sociological future. Our future is in our hands. Just like I will call on all Cameroonians to take your rights into your hands. Your future lies in your hands and not in the hands of 90 years old, 80 years old, and 70-year-old nincompoops. You have all what is required in order to change course in your own country without Amazonia. It should sink in now. There will be no Cameroon with Amazonia. If we had the possibility to move Cameroon away as our neighbor after independence, we will do so. Fellow Amazonians, in terms of community mobilization, our people must be prepared as the days that will make the final push draw nearer. At the appropriate time, we will indicate to you different projects, different pathways to undertake. We are mobilizing for the final push. We are mobilizing politically, diplomatically, and in all spheres so that we can challenge Cameroon method for method, iron for iron, when you are called upon for the final push. Lest I forget, I salute the bravery of our forces to have stabilized the situation, and they are on the offensive. Cameroon is defeated because in the last 8 months, they haven't taken an offensive operation. They are in the defensive because the morale in their team, the morale in their fighting force is down to 0. Cameroon has no resources to fight. For every dollar that we spend, Cameroon spends 200 times that dollar. And as the days go ahead, we will increase the cost of occupation to $400 per dollar that we spend. Fellow countrymen and women, I can reveal to you that our diplomatic posture in the US has moved 2 gears up. And in the coming weeks and months, the fruits of your contributions, your commitment towards the legal fund, towards the lobby firm, will be bearing fruits. But also you have seen your commitment towards self-defense in our increased postures in the southern zones. Lest you forget, southern zone was the birthplace of self-defense. And self-defense will end in the southern zone when we take over Boya. I can assure you that. We are working hand in glove with our population. We know what the enemy is doing, the propaganda, the fake promises, the cajoling, the throwing of crumbs, and all whatnot in order to dissuade our people. But from the responses of our people, Cameroon should know that their end is near and that you cannot fool Amazonians twice, never mind thrice, and that we are gone. My people, I can assure you that those working in the back office in the Hague of CADF are doing their utmost best. And as we've told you time and again, you will only see the results. The days of social media description of processes and strategies are over. We bring to you what you've been yearning for, and that is your freedom. And your leader in detention is giving them a run for their money. He has made it totally clear for any partner coming to him for negotiations that there are only 2 markers. One Cameroon must make a public declaration, just like in other conflicts, whether it's the Ukrainian conflict or the conflict in Southeast Asia. When partners are negotiating, there's always a public communique to show good faith. In order to also show good faith, your leader has asked that all negotiations must have as a baseline the outcome of the Canadian talks. That shows good faith. The Ambazonian Governing Council has made the decision to push all negotiations to be directed from Oslo Detention Center by your leader, Dr. Julius Ayaba, while we focus on the total takeover. I can assure you that your leader is in communication with all the stakeholders of the Ambazonian crisis, both at home and abroad, and at the appropriate time, he will make that clear. My people, there are many projects ahead. I understand your predicament as those facing the bullets on the ground, as those facing the burning of homes, schools, and villages by the occupier because they cannot defeat you. But rest assured that we are putting in place all the mechanisms in order to thwart their efforts in further harming you. For Cameroon, I have bad news for you. The day you would leave Ambazonia will come as a shock. And if you think you are splintering, your demise is greater than what you think. Because the war you declared, you have lost, but you have refused to accept defeat. The war you declared, you cannot negotiate because you have no negotiation. My people, I can assure you that the Ambazonian Governing Council, the ADF and sister forces now have all what it takes in order to free you. We are putting in place the puzzles, and at the right moment, because Cameroon is descending, at the right opportune moment, we will activate the total takeover plan. That is a promise I give to you on behalf of the Ambazonian Governing Council and its leader, Dr. Julius Ayaba. In a free Ambazonia, it will not only be reconstruction, but will be constructing Ambazonia for the next 50 years. I ask you all to remain resolute, to commit to your freedom, to commit the defense of your sovereignty once you get it, to commit to the safety of our people, of our citizens, girls, men and boys and women. I ask you all to believe in your dream. When we started, they told you it was a pipe dream, and later on, they have acknowledged that you cannot solve the Ambazonian problem through war. But we are waiting for them on the negotiation table as usual, because we've sharpened our pens, we've sharpened our minds and our brain, and we are waiting for Cameroon. I ask you all to remain steadfast. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory.
The Ambazonian, special loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. And levels to the hero who God alone we gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our be the watchman of this nation. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation.
Yes, Ambazonian, my motherland, my only land of freedom and peace, a land so accommodating, a land blessed with natural resources. My roots, my nation, till the world hears our cry and intervene, we will speak till our nation becomes a reality. Long live all the Ambazonians. Long live our fallen heroes who gave up their lives to save the future generation of Amazonia. Long live Amazonia. Our hopes are alive. Peace. We are not giving up. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up. We need freedom. We are not giving up. Amazonians, we are not giving up.
Fellow Amazonians, all man a place day. Shishik no day. My apologies for coming on late. Today, I'm very grateful to address all of you. I know we had a long outing the other day during an interview with Chat Night, and I'm grateful that some of you step up the plate in the defense of our cause. As I wrote the day after, Amazonia is the only place where, in times of a perilous crisis like ours, journalists claim to be neutral. And I wonder if between 1939 and 1945, if the BBC for 1 second could have been neutral, or during Desert Storm, if you thought CNN could be neutral. We are living in difficult moments, and everybody seems to want to survive above the interests of the collective, and people have lost their sense of sacrifice because of so many years of colonial domination. But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful, because the majority of Ambazonians, those who picked up arms, the lawyers and teachers who rose up, those in jail, refugees and IDPs who are still fighting wherever they are, and all of us recognize the danger in association with Cameroon. We recognize that Cameroon is like a Titanic that is going aground, and we either bail out or sink with Cameroon. And I think the Ambazonian people have made a firm decision, and have made a firm commitment with freedom. And this is above a struggle simply for the notion of independence. As I have said repeatedly, we are faced with a barbaric regime that virtually has no respect for human life. We are faced with a system that has thrived on looting, on killings, on propaganda, and the perpetuation of everything that divides a people, impoverish them, and keeps them in servitude. And they have made it absolutely clear, if you do not succumb to their antics, you have three places. You are either in jail, or you are in exile, or you are in the grave. They have been very clear about it. Mr. Biya has constantly, during his outings, denigrated every group of people who have risen up with legitimate concerns about his rule, the policies of Cameroon, and their method of responding to the entreaties or demands for political, economic, or social change. And we have also been very clear. There will be no middle ground as far as dealing with Cameroon is concerned. I know people liken that to extremism. We don't want to compromise. As I said during my interview, we compromise with our land. We compromise with our political institutions. We compromise with our economic infrastructures. We compromise with our lives, our liberty. There's virtually nothing left we can offer. And so everybody must know this. It is not the Ambazonian people in the past 63 years that have refused compromise. It has been Cameroon from 1961. They have used all forms of machinations, intoxication, bribery and corruption, recruitment of thousands of Ambazonians, and turn them into traitors. I was reading a script from one of them today calling our country a Facebook republic. Amazonia is a tangible state with international borders that are treaty-based, recognized internationally. We are a people, not even on the basis of the Banjul outcome, by virtue of the mandate, the trusteeship, by virtue of the natural topographic features that reinforces our borders to give us the opportunity within our homeland to build a common language, a common system, a common lifestyle. We are a people. And so for anybody to think we are a product of some division of an entity called Cameroon, you are engaged in self-deception. And that self-deception is what is leading to Cameroon's self-destruction. We have to be very, very clear about our journey, because that is what we can use to explain our position. This journey has been a journey where all leaders have compromised, giving up everything with a wild hope that maybe their surrender or capitulation will win the admiration of Cameroon, and some compromises. Cameroon has been very clear. They've seen us as some form of a lost territory, which they are the mother state to reclaim. And they have been absolute, not in the past, even now, about the fact that we are enemies. We are slaves. And according to them, we have no right to ask for anything. Because after all, human rights are only assigned to humans. And because we are not considered humans, we do not have the opportunity to enjoy human rights or even civil rights. So my people, Cameroon has not only denied our right to exist, it has made it impossible for us to survive as individuals and as a people by the very destruction of the foundation of our economy. They made it impossible for us to trade, to develop, and to create wealth, which is necessary for our survival. By the very fact that they destroyed completely and took over our political institutions, they made it impossible for us to organize, to make laws, to protect, or to codify norms and values. And they knew from the beginning that the foundation of Ambazonia's strength lies in their education. And I'm not talking about some classroom education. In our upbringing, in our nurturing from our homes with our parents, we were tailored to tilt towards values of compromise, tolerance, community, hard work. They knew that even the destruction of our socio-economic and political institutions will still leave us okay through hard work. They then took over our educational institution, revised our history, determined the curriculum of education that we were supposed to have. The curriculum of education of every educational system is the most important barometer that you can use to measure economic development and growth. When your educational curriculum is designed by people who are bent on eliminating you from the face of the earth, you can expect the outcome of any education through that system to be worthless. And that's what most of us became. On the left, people line up on the road to exile. They decreed schools that they could never invest in. Our parents will invest in those schools. Amazonian teachers struggled to get the kind of education that they needed to be able to educate the next generation. They were paid so badly. Teachers had to become farmers, bricklayers, taxi drivers just to survive. And sometimes the measure of the worth of a teacher was not about how many qualified students they produce. It was about how many students they failed. And nobody cared. Because why should they, considering how they are treated? Thousands of our people, after graduating from high school, went over to either Biafra land, Nigeria, A very few had the opportunity when United Kingdom, United States. Those who went to Cameroon became frustrated. We then went back on the street to demand for the creation of the University of Buea. It took lives and limbs to get that university. And they said they were going to teach us a lesson, since we had to compel them to decree a university. And in decreeing that university, they decreed the University of Ngaoundéré, I think Yaoundé 2, Maroa, and other places, so they can split the budget thing. And so Amazonians ended up in a university where there were neither computers within the computer department, nor a lab within the science department. Everybody was struggling for certification rather than knowledge. Nobody understood the foundation that they needed to lay if they needed to be qualified professionally. And that's how the university has become what we call the glorious high school. We fought for the GCE board because students went to write exams. Exams were set in half big English and Pidgin, sometimes with French. Teachers fought, students fought for a board of education that can oversee the setting, marking, and validation of exams. When they surrendered, they put their cronies, and within a few years, they had hijacked the GCE board. At the legal front, the common law system that is very important in Ambazonia has been constantly undermined. The presumption of innocence, which is the foundation of the criminal justice system, totally destroyed. Every accused was already guilty. You had to be extorted to prove yourself. Their court systems was totally antithetical to the common law system. Political opponents were moved from one jurisdiction to the other, where they were passed through kangaroo trials, locked up incommunicado, subjected to torture, no proper legal representation, no financial support. We became hostages. Nobody could really provide an alternative. We had a wild dream that reforming Cameroon is possibly going to protect the Ambazonian rights to some form of internal self-determination. They organized elections where in urban areas they appointed government delegates to oversee elected mayors. In rural areas, DOs became the de facto mayors. They did everything to emasculate the Ambazonian people. As if that was not enough, even administrative districting, DOs took over. Mostly Cameroonian citizens. The few Ambazonians who became DOs had to succumb or be fired or be transferred to long-distance places totally separated from their families. Because they had no hope, they had to integrate and became part of the machinery of torture, fanning of intertribal wars, taking over of our land, selling those lands. They became the de facto chiefs. All the chiefs were custodians of our tradition, of our way of life, of the foundation of our being. Held their position in abeyance to obeying the laws of Yaoundé. submitting themselves to the authority of the very butchers that have devastated their communities. The men in our chieftaincies and fondoms whom we revered became public laughingstocks as they bowed to colonial governors, colonial deals, became political appointees like the Anguafos. They rubbish the very essence of our being, made a mockery of the foundation of our lives that many generations before brave men had fought to secure. Cameroon declared his victory over us publicly and dared anyone who raised the finger. Those who tried met with immediate death. They knew France had their backing. There was no consequences. They knew they had recruited from amongst us millions of others. They knew the economic situation in Ambazonia had become so bad that millions had migrated into Cameroon and they will not bite the finger that supposedly fed them. They knew they had imprisoned, they had murdered the bravest of the bravest, and they had exiled others. That there was nobody left to challenge their violence, undermine their propaganda, and put them to shame. This is the arrogance of autocracies. And this is the foundation of the demise of all autocracies. My people, so if at any moment you have the feeling that maybe we are pushing so hard, maybe we are not making compromises, you should know we are coming from someplace called the Endelis, the Fonchas, the Joas, the Monas, and others who made meaningful compromises, ended up being humiliated. Some of you as old as half my age, if you happen to have been in Boya, you heard Pav Mona say, what kind of balok is this? You saw them travel to the United Nations to ask for help to undermine the very foundation they laid for coexistence. So it's not some stuff of our generation that we're concocting. I remember when we told Pa Tasang and the others, let's move straight, forget about this issue of trying to reform the educational system or the legal system. And they said, no, they can do it. What happened? Helicopter gunships. We all saw how lawyers were battered down in Boya, humiliated. And the very man who dared them sits in jail without any hope. No mercy, no pity. Their only crime, I'm not even talking about those who carry political baggage. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about not even teachers who taught in Amazonia, those who taught in Biafra, those who taught in Nigeria, whisked from their homes, separated from their children. The monster showed who is boss, took them by plane back to their capital. Demonstration of power, no mercy. And for 8 years, they've not only denied our existence, they have denied our humanity. They have burned thousands of villages. They have roasted children in broad daylight. No apologies. They've massacred young men as if that was not enough. They kill our guys, get their bodies and put them as trophies in the middle of the cities to send a strong warning to anyone who dare the master. That's what we are up against. And so you ask the question, do you want to surrender? Walk back through all the burnt villages, limping over the body of Mami Api, watching Baby Mata looking at you with a glaring disdain, walking over the bodies of all the fallen soldiers who fought so bravely for our country, back into the arms of the tyrants who laid bare our coast. Or you want to muster the courage, continue this journey that was started more than 130 years ago by the great Kuvalekenyes. Scale the highest mountains, swim across shark-infested rivers, knowing fully well that if you make it, there will be hope for millions of our people. Those who have died must not have died in vain. Those who've lost their liberties, separated from their families, wouldn't have done so in vain. Today, I come to talk to you about why we must muster that courage and keep going forward. And to let you understand some of the measures that we will institute will have some level of pain. We have to bear it. Some haven't even gotten the chance. They lost their lives. Think about the children of Ngabo. Think what happened to them between the moment their murderers showed up, the pain they felt. Think about you being a parent and having your kids killed on Valentine's Day. Think seriously like one of those parents, knowing fully well how painful their death must have been, but that the enemy had enough time to put the bodies together, poured fuel on them, lit a match, burned the bodies, stood by and made sure no parent could identify their child. That is Cameroon. And so for the measures we take and the disturbances that may create, that is far lower than the pain the parents of the Ngabo victims still feel up till this moment. My fellow people, national lockdown in the entire territory of Amazonia begins tomorrow. It will run until the 23rd. Today, our normal country Sunday has gone very well, from Victoria right up to Bamenda. We have shown that we want independence. We want to be free from the nagging grip of Cameroon. And I ask each and every one of you to begin tomorrow with courage, with a big smile on your face, with a desire to sacrifice not only for the birth of our country, but in remembrance of all those who've given their lives. Just imagine how those in Kondengi got up today and saw the videos of the various cities and closed their eyes and said to themselves, thank God we have not been abandoned. Whatever you do in furtherance of our cause of freedom, you must know you are impacting the lives of those in jail in a very positive manner. You're giving hope to the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters who have lost their loved ones. We must vomit Cameroon. We must reject it in all its entirety. We must hate it. It has caused enough pain in us. And I know you ask, what's the alternative? We have presented the alternatives to you. And I'll take a few points in terms of education. Ambazonian education is skill-based and competency-based, as opposed to the rejected certificate-based indoctrination, morally depraved, and mass education system of French Cameroon. Ambazonian education focuses on individuals' holistic development to become creative problem solvers and world creators, as opposed to a system that is interested in mass production of unschooled graduates. Our education shall be officially provided even at homes. Homeschooling is part of our curriculum. Regulated schools, Ambazonian community schools, and virtually through online education. Every day, every time, and everywhere shall be used to teach our children, depending on their need and resources required. Thus, every minute, we will have a graduate from the Ambazonian school system who is ready from day one to positively transform himself or herself, impact their family, community, and country, Africa, and the world. This is the new orientation that the Ambazonian Educational Board is putting on the table. Learning is a continuous affair from birth to the end of time. Hence, we must stop narrowing it down to tie with the traditional obsolete system that betrays the very essence of education. On this note, I call on all of you, even those in exile, to log on to www.orionambazonia, one word, orionambazonia.com, to register for any course of study of your choice. Study at your pace, graduate, and you are done. Ambazonian communities should also meet under the leadership of the Ambazonian Transitional Authority, agree within their means, set up community schools, and run them following the Ambazonian curriculum of education, policies, and guidelines. Parents and guardians must not let their children get missing in the crowd. Thus, they are called upon to be the primary investors and masters of the quality and content of education that their children get at the table. Homeschooling will become a pillar of the educational system of